Dr. Sears. We are so grateful to have you on our show. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Nina. I love talking about babies. I have a lot of babies.
You certainly do. Oh my gosh, I'm extremely impressed, and out of not only personally in your family, but how many babies you've helped over your impressive professional career. But I'm just excited to talk to you today about parenting. But before we get started, for our listeners, we'd love to learn more about you and your background and how you ended up to where you are today.
Well, I'll give you a capsule summary. I grew up in a financially very poor but spiritually rich home. A single mom. My dad took off on his month of age, so my heart has always gone out for single moms. But my mother, very smart mom, she surrounded me with quality male mentors.
Smart woman.
Smart woman. Every time I wanted to kind of stray a little bit, no, Billy, you'll do this. Mom, thank you, Mom. And then I realized early on, I had to work my way through school and college and all that. I realized that I wanted a job that I could enjoy. And I wanted a job that I could come home at night and go to bed and drift off to sleep with what I call the helper's high. Meaning, oh, I spent the day helping people and giving them a better life. I thought, pediatrics.
Oh.
Wow. If I can get a young couple with their first baby and teach them the tools and get them on the right path, I've influenced the life of a baby for the next 80 years. And maybe the parents for the next 60 years. So that was pediatrics.
Oh, I love that. And that's what I was going to ask you. What was it about pediatrics that just spoke to you? Because, I mean, you could have gone in so many different directions in medicine. Yeah. But what was it that you wanted to have that profound, moment with a family and help someone from infancy to beyond? Or what was it about pediatrics that really spoke to you?
And it was, well, see, I trained, I had the blessing of, I trained at the two top pediatric hospitals in the world, Boston Children's Hospital of Harvard, and then the Children's Hospital for Sick Children in Toronto, the largest children's hospital in the world, where I was associate ward chief of the newborn nursery. And so I was going to go into academic medicine. But then, at the end of my academic, I was all ready to take this position as the chief resident at the hospital, largest hospital in the world. I thought, I just want to be a simple practicing pediatrician. I want to hold babies. I want to come to the bedside of babies in the hospital and say, Mom, you've got the most beautiful person in the whole world, your baby. I just want to be a simple doc. So I left academic medicine and became a simple doc in practice. And, Martha and I, we just, the babies kept coming. The babies kept coming.
I was going to say, Dr. Sears, there is nothing simple, doc, about you. You have done some amazing things in your career. So that is very simplified, if I might say.
Yeah, and with that background, what I found, though, when I got out into practice and our babies started coming, people would ask me questions like, should I let my baby cry? How long where do I sleep with my baby? How long should I breastfeed? I had no answers. I knew, and my wife used to say, people would say, oh, Martha, you're so blessed marrying a pediatrician. And he said, he doesn't know anything about normal babies. He only knows sick babies.
And that's what they teach you in medical school. That's so true.
That's right. She was right. So I was back in training, and my secret, Nina, was when a mother and a father came in with their new baby, I would watch them and learn from them. And then between patients, I would make notes. Wow, that mom really knows her baby, and that baby's turning out so well. And so all of our books over the next 50 years were literally written on the job. So I thank my wife and all my patients for teaching me the tools that we're discussing. But I had to learn them on the
Yeah.
job.
On the job, and also being a father of 8. I mean, oh my goodness, how did you do that? I'm barely surviving with 2. I have a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old, almost 3-year-old, and I'm like, how did Dr. Sears do that with 8?
Yeah, one at a time. That's the gray hairs.
I believe it. I totally believe it.
And in fact, we laugh a lot. We have it's Christmas time. We're getting ready for it. We have a big table of 20. And one day we had a little big party, and all the 8 kids were around and was arguing. And, Mom, Dad, why did you have so many kids? I said, well, which one of you shouldn't we have had? You know, they were, him, her. So anyway, but they all love one another.
Oh, I love that. That's too funny. Because you're right. Yeah. Afterwards, you have this table filled with all of these people, and you're like, well, I couldn't imagine life without you. So yeah.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, and it was so it's been tough, but wow, I wouldn't change a thing. Having the 8 children, now we have 15 grandchildren, and it's just been a real blessing. It's the only word I can come up with.
It sure sounds like it. Oh my goodness. And as I mentioned, you have so much just firsthand experience as a medical professional, in addition to being a father of 8. How have these experiences shaped the way you offer advice to new parents?
Well, as soon as I learned from babies, I would learn on the job. And my wife, I was blessed with a very intuitive wife. And our first 3 babies, Bob, Jim, and Peter, were rather easy babies. You know, you put them down in the crib at night, they slept anywhere. You'd feed them every 3 hours. They fed on a schedule, rather easy. And I said, what's all this stuff about baby problem? And then number 4 came. Oh, I still remember the night that changed our lives, Nina. We had the crib in our bedroom over at the corner, and she's in the crib, and she's crying. And Martha kept getting up and down, up. And Martha said to me one night, the words that changed our lives, I don't care what the books say, I have got to get some sleep. So her mother's instinct clicked in. She goes over, picks up that precious little baby, Hayden, out of the crib, takes her to bed, nestles her down. The little sucker plugs in to mama, and the two drift off peacefully to sleep. And I'm wide awake. I'm looking at this. I said, oh my goodness, that's the way it should be. That the mama listens to herself and to her baby, and the heck with the books. And those days, was all the baby training, or let your baby cry it out, and don't spoil your baby life. Martha, I'm following my gut instinct and my mother's instinct. My mommy brain tells me this is what I need to do. And that changed our whole life.
Oh my gosh. Dr. Sears, I love hearing that story. Thank you for sharing that. I want to know, I've spoken to lots of different pediatricians, and it's, I agree. I think that every baby is so different. Every story is so different, and you have to listen to yourself and your baby and do what's right for you and your family. I have spoken to several pediatricians that will say, but no matter what, do not put baby in the bed. But you're telling us this story. So what would you say to a family who hears this story and says, but wait, I'm hearing conflicting information about I should never do bed sharing. I can do co-sleeping, baby in a safe co-sleeper next to my bed, that sort of thing. But I also, having worked with many moms, I've done night shifts, helping moms with their babies. After a point, you just do what you got to do to survive. And sometimes that baby gets in bed with you because you have to sleep.
That's
so,
right.
So yes, I want to know your professional thoughts and opinions on this for our listeners who hear that story.
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that because that's a
Yes.
big question, and and I'm so glad you mentioned the co-sleeper because we worked on the arm's reach co-sleeper. It's one of the first things I have grandparents buy for all their grandkids. Get a arm's reach co-sleeper. So basically, that was the big question in those days too. Where should my baby sleep? I'm
Yes.
going to spoil him. So Nina, follow me closely. I say to parents, first of all, show me the science. Is there science behind co-sleeping and bed sharing? Yes. I'm going to take you back into the late 80s, early 90s, when we started sleeping we slept with the next five. We didn't the first four. But I said, honey, I'm really interested in what's going on in co-sleeping because I would watch Martha, and so we studied number 8. So she was like our laboratory. So Lauren came into our home by adoption. We adopted her as a newborn. So we thought just because she's adopted, she can't be deprived. So we co-slept with her, and then there was technology being developed. So I put wired her up with checked her blood oxygen and her sleeping cycles and all, and I tested her on nights she was co-sleeping next to Martha, and in a co-sleeper across the room, and there were differences. Her breathing patterns were more regular. Her blood oxygen was better. She was more in brain balance when she was next to Martha. So I had a friend at the time, Dr. James McKenna, who just moved to Notre Dame and opened a mother-baby sleep laboratory. So I said, Jim, please get me off the hook, will you? Because they're saying, "Well, that's that crazy pediatrician wants moms to sleep with their baby. Help me, would you? I need some science." So over the next 20 years, Dr. Jim tested hundreds of mothers and babies and found the same thing we did, that babies' brain balance and their whole demeanor is more in balance, that's the word I use, with co-sleeping. So when mothers ask me, I say, I give them, but the bottom line is, I say, now, Nina, my answer to you is wherever you and your baby sleep the best is the right arrangement for you. And that may change at different months. And mothers like that. And so that's sort of the that's why in our books when we list the scientific studies. So if somebody I hate to use the term jerk, but
it can be warranted. Yes, jerks happen.
I say I'll just tell them, show them the science. Show them that you're an intelligent mom. And they say, I'm sorry, Joe, but my baby deserves the best I can give her from myself and the science. And here's all the books.
So cool. And I find that fascinating that you really did, basically with your 8th child, just, try to figure out all the science and see what the difference is with the sleeping patterns and how well they sleep next to mommy. You even said that they're in the same room, but just across from the room, it's different. So that's just so fascinating to hear. And I'm very familiar with Dr. McKenna's, the safe sleep. I think it's the 7 safe sleep tips. So I so appreciate you bringing all this up. And something else I love that you say, there is no one way to parent a baby. I love how you say that. Can you elaborate on this statement for us?
Yes, because one of the first things I ask my parents when they'll come in, they'll ask me a question. I say, well, say you're Nina. Nina, you're coming to my house. Say, well, before I give you my answer, tell me what. Let's imagine, Nina, that you and your husband have your first baby and you're on an island somewhere. No mother-in-laws, no doctors, no baby books. You have nothing to guide you but your mommy brain, your mother's instinct. What would you do? And that's your answer. See? So our 7 B's of attachment parenting, our baby B's, they're the tools. They're your tools to guide you to make your own decision. But I remember, and in my office, I'd keep tabs of how babies turn out. And I remember one parent, I still remember, they came in and, mom said, boy, I'm kind of tired. I'm sleeping with my baby. I'm kind of tired and everything. And my mother-in-law's on me and my mom and my dad, you're spoiling that baby and everything. So we're going to do baby training. Right? Okay. So I'm young in practice. I said, okay. So they came in a month later for their checkup and I thought, oh, the baby's now such a good baby, Dr. Bill. He sleeps through the night. He's such a good baby. I examined the baby and, I've taken care of thousands of babies. And I looked at that baby and said, something's not right with that baby. There was no eye contact. The motor development was stuck. It wasn't developing. So that good baby, when the mom pulled the plug on the parenting, that good baby shut down. So I said to the parents, I explained them, and the mother was in tears. And she said, thank you, Dr. Bill. Something inside of me told me this was not right.
Oh.
And she got back to what she was doing. The baby thrived again.
Wow. Oh, my goodness. Looking for those signs and talking to someone, I think, is really important. And it's so true. A lot of us parents will see something in our child, and sometimes we don't want to say it because we're afraid that it might be true, or we're afraid we'll say something and maybe it sounds silly or just dramatic. But for you to listen and for you to say, let's examine, let's see, and dig a little deeper. That's really the support that we all need to feel heard and to feel safe, to talk about those things.
Yeah, I loved your phrase you just said, dig a little deeper. Because because even with Martha, I'll tell you a story. We have the baby B's, the birth bonding, breastfeeding, baby wearing, bedding close to baby, belief in the cries, all the baby B's. And then over time, I added one called balance. And that means, an example, I remember one day, I think it was number 7. I forget the name. Give them numbers. Okay, number 7, Stephen. Okay, so Martha says to me, I don't have time to take a shower. My baby needs me so much. Daddy brain. Lovingly, I said to her, Martha, what our baby needs most is a happy, rested mother.
Absolutely.
You take care of yourself so you can take better care of the baby. Go take a shower, take a walk, do something just for yourself. I'll take Stephen. And then, but he's in a fussy mode. That's okay. You go do what you need to do for yourself. Baby needs a happy mom, a rested mom. So I have Stephen, and he's in a fussy mood. I said, okay, I'm a male. I don't have the usual equipment to calm that fussy baby. But what do I have? I have a deeper voice. I have a hairier chest. So I developed, said, I got to do some daddy stuff. So I developed a neck nestle. So I put Stephen, put his head in the crook of my neck, and I put my jawbones on top of his head, because babies hear with the vibration of their skull bones too. So I would sing something like, "Go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, my little baby." Oh, to sleep. The fussy quit. The fussy stopped. And I thought, okay, daddy brain's got to click in now. And so that's just an example of for fathers. When you see some burnout occurring, just come and say, our baby needs a happy, rested mother. And that's why balance is so important, in parenting.
I love that. That's such a wonderful tip, because yes, it's not just reliant on the birth mother. It's, the parents. We need to step in and realize when someone's getting burnt out to help that person, so they can continue forward and parent that baby the way that they want to. Otherwise, you just go insane after a point. But Dr. Sears, how do you think new parents can begin to develop a parenting style that best suits their family?
All right. Well, I think you start with, that's why we give them the baby B's, because I found, just like you said, new parents, they want to follow their instinct, but sometimes they need some guidelines. So I call them tools. And so I start them off with the tools, the 7 baby B's. And I says, now let's say, now Nina, these are tools to help you develop your own personal style that works for you and your baby. You may use some of the tools, some of the time, all the tools, but you personalize to it because it's your baby. It's your baby. And and it's so funny, because I've been in practice now. This is my 52nd year, 52 years in practice, so thousands of babies. And it's so funny. I will, today's parents, today's mothers especially, they're smarter.
Oh, really? How so? How so?
Really?
How would you say?
When I started practice, there was a bunch of doctor tell me what to do's. And an example of that is what mothers have done for birthing practices. I could, when our first few babies, the archaic birthing practices where father's in the waiting room, and I thought, the term obstetrics, obstare, means on standby. And so the new mother is, doctor, it's my body, my birth, my baby. And this is the way I want to do it. But you're on standby in case my plan isn't working. So bingo, I remember when we first came out with our baby book, we said, don't go into a hospital room to deliver your baby. It doesn't have a labor tub in there. So you can labor in the water, not birth in water, but labor in water. And people thought, whoa, let's try crazy. Now, every hospital, if they want to stay in the baby business, has a labor tub. See, so that's an example of how smart mothers made medicine change. Smart mothers upgraded us to be wiser caregivers. And so that's why today's parents, they'll quiz me like you, like attachment parenting, and the bottom line I get is, I still, I'll be walking on the beach or something like that, and a mother will stop me and say, Dr. Bill, you looked after my kids 30 years ago. You probably remember. I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for validating my mother's instinct. And that's all we did, Nina. We gave them, we opened them up to follow their mother's instinct. We just gave them the tools to help them.
I love that. And I know that I totally derailed your story when I was asking you how you can help parents, or parents develop a parenting style that best suits their family. But you were saying that parents today are so smart. And I was like, wait, I want to know why parents are smarter today than they were before, too.
They are, they're smarter. But I think it started with
Yeah,
birthing.
okay.
Yeah, it's like mothers are saying, something's not right
Yes.
here. That I should be strapped to a bed to make it easier
On the doctor. Yeah.
for the doctor to, catch
Yes.
my baby. And, men catch babies, women deliver. Right? So we catch babies. And so I think it became with birthing. When women got smarter with birthing options, my baby,
Yes.
my body, my birth, they carried that over into parenting. So now when a doctor during a checkup tells them something, they run it through their instinct first and say, yeah, the doctor's right, or the doctor isn't. See? So it's actually a joy to work with parents like that. They'll challenge me. And that's good. I'm still learning.
We're all still learning, and that's something that
No.
I love that you say, because we're all still learning no matter what we're doing. And we're evolving all the time. And we all have different needs, as do our children. Dr. Sears, how important is it to be flexible in parenting and adapting to the changing needs of ourselves and our children?
Mm-hmm. Very flexibility. You nailed it. Flexibility. We live in a challenging age right now, and we got to be flexible. And so that's why sometimes I will, like a mother will come in, and they'll say, "Well, I had a mother about a couple of years ago come in. I still remember. She comes in and with the new baby, and she's in tears. And I said, well, why are you in tears? She said, I have to go back to work.
Yeah.
My husband's a student. I said, you have to or you want to? Because if it's a want to, I don't get involved. Is I have to? I do. No, I would love, my instinct told me I'd love to spend more time with my baby, but we just can't financially. So here's how I helped her solve it. I said, would you mind if are your grandparents, are your parents nearby? Would you mind if I made a call to Grandpa? So I step up, and I actually went out. I made a call to the mom's father, and I started out. His name was Ken. I think it was Ken. Ken, how would you like to make the best investment in your whole world for your baby? And he was an investment banker. So, how would you like to make? And he said, here's this pediatrician calling me about investment. I said, yeah. I said, could you fund your daughter's ability to stay home part-time or sometimes as much as she can with her baby? Can you fund that? He said, oh my goodness. I never thought of that. Absolutely. And that mom, I mean, it was like somebody just opened her instinct and said, oh, thank you, Dr. Bill. When I came in and told her, you can stay home with your baby. See, so I say that, I just use that as an example of we're in a flexible world right now. We're grandparents. Grandparents, I have a lot of patients in my office where, mom and dad have to work or want to, and they drop the baby off at grandparents' house. And so grandparents get a second chance, and then they pick the baby up. So, but I think still with the flexibility, I just tell them, the more time you can spend with your baby in your arms, the more time you can put that little baby in a carrier and walk around, the more skin-to-skin contact. I said, you know, these are precious times right now, and just try to enjoy them as much as you possibly can.
Oh, and that story is, it's like so romantic. Like you can pick up a phone and call a father and that he'll help out, because I will say I know many parents who would say nope, can't do that, or or there's, and so while that, I mean, for some people that is a wonderful luxury, and for others I know it's unrealistic, who are listening and saying like that I don't have a family member like that, or I don't have family who can help, or that sort of thing. Like even with my own parents, my kids have to go to a daycare because my parents are unable to come and help, and my husband's family is unable to devote that time. So yeah, for people who are listening and hear that story, I just wanted you to know that if you do not fall in that category, or feel like, oh, that's just unrealistic for me, that is, I think, more of the norm than anything. And I think that we're all doing the best that we can. But if you can find resources like that, and to have, and I think what the beautiful thing about that story, Dr. Sears, is that you spoke up for that mother when she would have probably never made that phone call for herself. And so someone else who is looking out for that person, when you see someone who is struggling or feels like they're drowning, and you have the power to pick up that phone call or talk to someone who can help, maybe you can't personally help them, but you can reach out and do something for that person. What an amazing thing that is, that you can do. So that's so beautiful that you were able to help her. So I just had to also add that little bit for people who are like,
oh, thank you. It's so good. And again, and it's and and there's a really good daycare centers now. And what another thing that's changed is so many moms are working from home now.
Oh yes,
that's great. Our eighth child, a daughter, is having a baby in a couple of weeks, and she's working from home. So that's going to be funny. She's sitting there with a baby on her lap.
She'll mute herself when the baby's crying. It'll be fine.
But so that's one of the good things. More and more moms I find are working from home. They're opening little home businesses.
There's definitely more resources available now, which is such a wonderful thing for parents. So now you have more options, so you can choose what is best for you, which is so awesome.
Exactly.
And Dr. Sears, what role does self-awareness play in finding the best parenting style for each parent?
I love your term self-awareness, Nina, because, it's funny. I'm at the stage of my life where self-awareness, meditation, brain clearing, I figure it's one of the things I want in my so-called golden years. I want to feel good up here in my brain.
Absolutely, yeah.
I don't want the stuff in there, all the garbage. And so when these moms come in, self-awareness, I say, well, how do you feel about what you're doing with your baby? Are you getting satisfaction from it? But see, there's the mommy brain. There really is a mommy brain that clicks on that I'm doing the best I can. I'm doing the best I can with the tools I have. And that's all your baby will ever expect, is my mother did the best she could. And I look at my mother. Yeah. My mother had to work hard when I was a baby. But thank you, Mom. You did the best you can with the tools you had. And that's all I can ever expect.
I love that. How do you think external influences impact our parenting style? Because we just talked about that self-awareness, but now the external. How does that impact our parenting style?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. Today's parents are on overload. Yes,
we are. We have so much external information.
Overload. And honestly, see, I have to be truthful with you. because we're talking about the most precious asset in the whole
Yes.
world, babies. So I don't play politically correct stuff and all that when I'm talking about babies. But there is a lot of junk written out there. Really, a lot of stuff written out there. And my wife, Martha, God bless her, she, if you had her, man, she would write. In fact, somebody asked me one time, how has your marriage survived writing 47 books
Yes.
together? And we're on Good Morning America, and Joan London asked Martha that on national television. And she said, well, the answer is Bill writes it and I fix it. Okay. Okay. But so she, when she sees all these books coming out, she looks at what on earth? So I think, first of all, let's take the two biggest books they read: pregnancy books and baby books. Okay. You have a baby, you get a book on pregnancy, you get a book on taking care of your baby. Ask yourself, let's say the pregnancy book. How many pregnancies has that author had?
Right.
Okay. So we went through this when I saw all these terrible pregnancy books out there. You know, they were kind of fun titles, but, you know, not really. Not. And so what we did, we put together our pregnancy book, and we said, what does a person want to read? They want a professor of obstetrics at a university, preferably female. We got one. They wanted a midwife who's a PhD. We got one as a co-author. We wanted a mother of 8.
You got one. You're married to one.
Got one. And we wanted a pediatrician, a token male in there, a pediatrician who's looked after thousands of babies and trained at the 2 top medical schools. So we put together the pregnancy book with 4 authors. See? Same with the baby book. You know, the baby book was written on the job over 52 years. And I must give it the credit to most of what's in the baby book is what smart moms like yourself taught me. I'd go home at night with a whole couple pages of notes that moms taught me and dads taught me.
I love that.
And they went in the book. So this is when you watch what you read. And if you read something that doesn't hit your instinct, turn the page and go on. So don't be on overload, because all these little catchy titles and everything, like, you know, this and that, it's too precious not to be on overload.
That's so true. Definitely check out the sourcing. Check out if they're making also big claims. I always say any published author or even just writing an article on a website, they should be citing all of their claims and citing reputable, you know, medical journals, those type of sites to show that there is science behind their claim.
Exactly.
So if you are reading something and you're unsure of what they're saying, look for the sourcing. Look not only who they are as a writer, because, you know, I've written several things, but I also make sure that I include the science that's in it. So you have to make sure that what is being written is actually evidence-based, you know?
You know, I'm so glad you mentioned that term, show me the science. I've got to show you. Our newest book, the Healthy Brain book. I don't know where you can see it. The Healthy Brain book. Right? Because we thought, wow, there are so many junky brain books out there that they're written by brain specialists for brain specialists. You can't understand them or the science. And that's why now in our books we have endnotes.
Oh, I love that.
The science, so a page will say, if you want to go deeper into the science, just like you mentioned as a smart mom, see endnotes page 540, and you'll see the science behind what I said. See, and especially with babies or baby brain, we talk about mommy brain, baby brain, all that. they're too precious just to flip off and say, "Oh, let's try this," and all that.
I love that. That's so great that you've included that in your latest book too. That's awesome. I love it. I love it. And how can parents, Dr. Sears, best find a balance between incorporating expert advice and trusting their instinct when it comes to parenting? Because you've really said that, like, here's some great information that you've written or a parent finds and is written by a reputable source, but maybe their instinct is telling them something differently. How can parents find that balance?
Well, good, and the balance. That's why,
Yeah.
like I said, that's why we put that in the last baby balance, because
Yeah.
that happens. And I think if that happens, say, let's take somebody says to you, well, you go to the doctor and you're still breastfeeding your 1.5-year-old. The doctor says, well, you don't need to do that anymore. It doesn't do any good. You got to go and use the formula now and something like that. And mom said, that doesn't sound right. So you talk to other mothers. What's your feeling, Susie, about that? And another one, well, I just read something about the American Academy actually coming, and the American Academy is very conservative. They say now 2 years. Oh, yeah, okay. I'm going to tell my doctor, well, the American Academy says, oh, I'm just following them. See? So just trust your instinct.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Trust your instinct. And what's interesting, see, and that's where, like when I used to wonder why Martha was so instinctual. And I remember one time with Lauren, it was number 5. It says Erin. Erin now was a mom, and she was not behaving well. But and she was not nice to her mother. And I stepped in with my father voice. Erin, I will not permit you talking to the woman I love like that. And she still remembers me saying that to her because out of balance. And Martha, one time, one of our kids was just having, we called them a hissy fit. They were just, and Martha just knew within 30 seconds how to calm the baby so much. And I said to Martha, well, honey, how did you know? Tell me, how did you know exactly what to do? She said, well, I do this with our kids. Before I act, I ask myself, if I were my baby or I were my child, how would I want my mother to react? And I do it. So, oh, that was smart. So, these are kind of on-the-job little tips, Nina, that you learn after 8 kids.
That's so cool. I love that. Do you have any, and I love hearing your examples, do you have any examples of different parenting styles that have worked for different families and why they were effective? Because as we've mentioned, something can work for one family and then not work for another.
No.
So do you have any examples for that?
Yes, a whole lot of them, because I think a lot of it depends on the temperament of the baby. Like our first 3, we had a whole different parenting style because they were happy, being on a schedule, sleeping in their own room. I mean, all that. See, so I think it depends on a lot of it's the baby's temperament. And another thing, a lot of it is today's mothers have a lot of support. There are a lot of support groups.
Thankfully.
And that really helps. I remember our house, I was always looking around, there was always, Martha would have meetings in our house all the time of moms and babies, and they discuss things and all that. And they wouldn't agree all the time. But because it's the baby's temperament's different. And, but I still kept coming back to the bottom line is what a baby needs most is a happy, rested mother. And if what you are doing, you go to bed at night and you drift off, I feel good about how I parented my baby today, then you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. Oh, that's so great. I love that. And it's so true that, you know, I'm glad that there are so many more support groups out there. I will say that for moms who are in the thick of it, it can be hard to find those groups. So reach out to your local pediatrician. I'm sure that they are plugged into some support groups in your area. But even if you come across moms who disagree with what you are saying, just I love that tip, remembering that it's all about the temperament of the baby and the circumstances that they're in and the resources that are available to them, and being a little bit more open-minded to those things, a little bit giving more grace to each other and ourselves in those moments that we're all doing. I think it's kind of just remembering, if you just know that we're all doing the best that we can, you'll have a little bit more empathy and kindness for other people.
Empathy. That's the big word, empathy. And, you know, that I learned, I'll tell you a little story on empathy. Back the days when babies crying, you know, cry it out. And I remember the term colic, long time ago, colicky babies. And, you know, and then my doctor's instinct, I said, you know, babies cry for a reason. They cry for a reason. And finally, then I decided I would teach medical students in my office. I say, you know, colic is a 5-letter word meaning the doctor doesn't know.
Yeah, because when you ask it, they're like, oh, it's something with the gut, but we're not really sure exactly what it is.
That baby's crying for a reason. So I started making a science out of colic. And I started studying causes of pain in babies with colic, and found that the great majority of those had what's called reflux, where they would reflux acid, like acid up, and cause what adults would call heartburn, pain. And if you change the way of feeding, the way of holding and all, their colic lessens. And so that was just something we've got in our books. We started saying, look for a medical reason if your baby is fussing a lot. Could be I've seen babies with urinary tract infections or bowel stuff. So don't just write Adolphus colic.
That's good to know.
And what did is a mother was in my office one time and came in for colic. She'd been about 5 doctors for colic, and she comes in. I'll never forget. She says, "Doctor, I've been told my baby has colic, but my mother's instinct tells me something is causing pain inside my baby. Please find it." And that's when we did some bunch of tests and found the baby has severe reflux. See, so that mother stimulated me to find a reason, because the mother knew it's more than colic.
It's more than colic. Oh, that's such a great story. Thank you for sharing that, because it's so true. Listen to your intuition, ask questions until you get an answer that you feel is right. Don't stop asking and searching until you get the answers that you're wanting. And Dr. Sears, in your experience, how have parenting styles evolved over time?
I think they've evolved in the better way.
Okay. How so?
All right. Much better. Let's start with the first baby B, birth bonding. Well, we mentioned that already. Oh man, today's birthing practices, no comparison. I love going to births now to see the mother being able to follow her body because she's not strapped down somewhere. So that's the first evolution. The second baby B, breastfeeding. When we started out, it was months.
Yeah.
Now it's years. You know, it's not unusual for a mom to be breastfeeding into So for
Yeah.
years
Until
now,
however long she
right?
wants. Yes.
It, you know, a baby
Yes.
wearing. It used to be thought you're going to spoil a baby if you carry him all the time. Now we know it's just the opposite. And I say, babies learn a lot in the arms of a wise caregiver. You're doing the dishes, you're cleaning the house, you're doing your work at home, you're doing all this, you're taking a walk. Baby sees and hears what you do. So now we know they don't get spoiled. They get spoiled when you leave them alone, but they don't get spoiled. And then we know about sleeping. So they've evolved. All those baby bees have evolved now to they're the norm instead of being the exception.
I love that. I feel like parents are speaking up and doing what's right rather than being told how to parent. They're really finding their own
Yeah.
way and speaking up for what's best for their baby, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
That's
I
right.
love that. If you could offer one piece of advice to a brand new parent, Dr. Sears, looking to find their stride, what would it be?
Uh, I would say have the confidence, believe in yourself that what your instinct is telling you is right for you and your baby. Have the confidence in yourself.
Love that. Don't doubt yourself. Have that confidence.
Because, and I tell mom, one of the things I'd like you to do every night when you go to bed, as you drift off to sleep, hey, I am doing the greatest profession in the world, parenting a little human being. And you drift off to sleep.
The hardest yet most rewarding job in the world, for sure.
It is.
And as parents, how do you think we can get the most out of our parenting journey?
I think by it's like an investment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? If you want to get the biggest return on your investment, you put more money into the account.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that's what attachment parenting is early on. You're putting those investment tools into that child's account. And you're going to get returns later on. That's why we have a lot of family get-togethers. And they say, thank you, Mom and Dad, for the little ones, Thank you, Mom and Dad. Thank
So
you,
you're
Mom and
seeing
Dad.
that even now after all of those investments that you've made with your own children, you're like, wow, it's just paying back.
You make investments, but it's not just we'll just have a couple. No, it's an investment. But and you figure out, you say you're 25, you have your first baby, and then you come 50 and 60. When you're 60, and you look at that precious adult child now, and the memories of that precious adult child is the person because of you, what you did, and it's just, as you say, it's a return on your investment. And I think, this is why, talking about investments, this is why programs like you are putting on now, okay, are so important. Like, you'll go to bed tonight, and I'll go to bed tonight with what I call the helper's high, and you'll drift off to sleep, and you'll think maybe 1, 2, 100, 1,000 mothers are happier and healthier, and their children are happier and healthier because of something we said on your program.
For sure. Oh, I love that.
That's why I love doing these
For
things.
sure.
So you have
I
a great
know. I
job.
love my job. I think you have a pretty good job too, though, Dr. Sears.
I think so, yeah.
Oh my goodness. And do you have any final thoughts, Dr. Sears, that you'd like to leave our audience with?
Well, we
Oh, Dr. Sears, I hear some music
what
in the
what
background. Is there something going on?
hmm, oh, probably some radios up there. It's funny. I have to laugh when your assistant Taylor said we want you to have a
Yeah.
nice quiet house. I said you've never been in our house. My favorite, my sound of music. My favorite says our house is alive with the sound of children. Anyway,
I don't hear it right now.
but
I
we
just
are
kept hearing like a game or something
yeah,
playing, so I was like, "Uh-oh, I want to make sure."
yeah, but it's we are actually opening our own TV
Oh,
channel.
amazing. Congratulations.
I've just been asked 2 weeks ago to have our own
Uh-huh.
streaming channel called Ask Dr. Sears channel, and we'll be going live on February 1st, and it'll be on all ages actually, babies, children, adult,
I love
seniors,
it.
food, not just parenting and babies, but um, and that's why I want to recommend
Oh.
your program because you have I guess it's right to say starter tips
Yes.
because your watchers your viewers are more young or more
Young moms. Yes.
early moms
Early
have
motherhood.
a few month
Yeah,
old babies so you give them
we
starter
do.
tips. That's why it's so important. So, but we're going to have our own TV
Oh,
channel
very
pretty soon.
cool. We can't wait to check
So
it out.
if you yeah, people can go on our website, askdrsears.com, and we'll give you updates. It's exactly how you go on it and
I
how you
love it.
click in.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you.
That's
I
our
still
new.
want to know, like, if you had any final thoughts that you wanted to leave our audience with.
Oh, final thoughts. Well, um, I guess the final thought would be mentioned before. One, as we mentioned, mom and dads, you are doing the most important job in the world, raising a little human being. And at no time in my history of 50 years in practice, at no time is the need for good parenting ever been this great. Today's children, now, they're in a tough world right now. Instances of depression, anxiety, and all the things you don't want your children to get. So this is why I say the um, the answer the answer to all this stuff that's going on out there is not in the government, it's not in the doctor's office, it's right in the home, beginning with mommy and daddy. So that's what I thought maybe I'll leave you with, that you are doing the most important job in the world. The future of our country is to parent that little human
It's so
being.
true. That reminds me of that quote. I'm probably going to butcher it, but if you want to change the world, start with inside your home because that's where it
Exactly.
starts.
That's
I
exactly
love
right.
it.
Right.
I
Right.
love that.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
Yep.
Dr. Sears, where can our listeners find you?
Yeah, our website,
Yes.
askdrsears.com, probably the way to find us best. And then certainly our books, the baby book and the healthy pregnancy, our books, and then the channel soon, the askdrsears.com streaming channel. And we're and programs like this, like yours, which we love. And so we're I love doing this, Nina, because it's almost like Martha and I at our what we call our give back stage. We've learned so much on the job that now we'd like to take what I've learned over 50 years and give it to the young parents with their first baby or so to help them on the
Well, we are
path.
so grateful for your time and for sharing your wealth of knowledge with all of us. Because, yeah, to be able to learn from professionals and parents like you guys is it's just amazing. So, Dr. Sears, thank you so much for your time today, spending it with us and sharing all of your knowledge. We're just so incredibly grateful.
Thank you, Nina. You've been a very, very engaging host to work with.
Oh, it's
Thank
my
you.
pleasure.
I bet your children are privileged to have you as a
Oh,
mom.
you're the best.
Thank
Oh,
you.
I love you, Dr. Sears. Oh my goodness. And for our listeners out there, to learn about Dr. Sears, you can find him, as he said, on his website at askdrsears.com or Instagram at askdrsears. Our team will be posting today's episode on our Baby Chick Facebook page. So if you have any questions or comments about our discussion, please share them with us in the comment section. And as always, if you haven't already, please subscribe to Chick Chat, the Baby Chick podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, and leave us an honest review. Cheers to parenting your way.